When I was with my ex-wife, I struggled for about, honestly, as far as our marriage, I struggled for like 4 years, to be honest with you. And I didn't realize within the first 2 years how much I was struggling. I thought, well, I guess this is a marriage. Marriage takes work. And I look back at it now and I was just like, oh, no, 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 that wasn't work. That was someone being very vicious to you, attacking you, and sabotaging your life on a very personal level. And when I would talk to my psychologist about it, or a therapist that I had about it, and I also had group therapy, every time I would be prepared to tell them something and I'm working my way to it, people would stop and just be in shock and be like, that is terrible. It's like, what's terrible? It's like, well, this, and this. It's like, oh, is it? Like, yes. Well, I don't feel that as being terrible. I was trying to get to the point though, and they would just be surprised that I had not that was not the point of what I was saying, because what I said in their eyes was already very bad. Not horrific, but very bad. So, with my background as far as childhood trauma, I realize now it was the same thing. I would be working my way to telling someone about how terrible I was mistreated. And before getting to the point of that extreme, severe abuse from my father or my sister, or how my mom would, ugh, anyway, people would just be in shock by what I was saying and be like, I can't hear anymore. It's like, what? I can't hear him anymore. Can't hear me anymore about what? Because in my eyes, what I was talking about was not mistreatment. It was just so normal to be treated in that way. And later on, as I got older, I realized it's like, oh, wow. I mean, from the day I was born, I was mistreated in such a way. You see, I have memories of a child crying and my parents laughing at me, and always holding my sister and comforting her, and me being alone without being comforted. And now that I'm an adult, I know exactly what that leads to as far as your neural pathway development. So, for someone to be healthy minded, they need to be loved and comforted when they are alone, cold, crying, hungry as a child. If they're just abandoned and they're just like, oh, that's just him. He always crying. He's fine. And their friends would just be looking at them like, wow, it's like you're really just going to treat him that way. And go ahead and get in front of me, buddy. I got you. Go ahead. Um, it's like you're really just gonna. So common out here, man. It's so common for vehicles to be in two lanes and they just stop there. But that's the fifth time I've ever used my horn. That's a lot. That is 4 times in the past, like, not even year. But anyways, so my point is because of past trauma, I value myself in, at least I used to, until I finally got my divorce. I valued myself in such a low way that I allowed to be treated as being less than human. My parents actually called the dogs my brothers, and that I had to be nice to my brothers. And they bark at me like, Rocky, don't bark at your brother. And they saw this as being completely fine. Completely fine. If I said anything about it, I get yelled at. I mean, these people are crazy. Um, of course, my sisters though, they were not their brothers or sisters. No, 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 no. They were just so high up there because they're female. Which again, when you see that, especially with females, usually the husband or the father of the family is a pedo. Just so you know. Um, that's one of the big signs. And then if there's that along with mistreating the son, easily yelling at the son, easily disciplining or making physical contact in a way of striking him as a punishment, also very easily, that man is a pedo, and he's trying to show his dominance over the other male in front of the girls in order to be their sexual desire. Yeah, pedos are nasty, but that's my dad. Um, but I'm very good at tracking those motherfuckers and reporting them. That's a whole other story. Um, I now feel myself in a way where I demand respect. And I did that when I met my ex-wife, but she worked very hard to set the standard for me that she was allowed to treat me in a way where we could spend hours, 3 hours of me telling her you will not call me that, you will not treat me that way, and her forcing and forcing and me saying nope, that's the boundary right here, you will not cross it. And because I did not let her slide, she was fighting so hard to violate and push that boundary that for hours she would be working on it, literally for hours, and then punish me by no love or affection or anything, which basically became our relationship within the first couple of months. That became our relationship from that point on because I would not ever allow her to cross boundaries. That's why she started poisoning my food was to get that control over me. Um, and then the boundaries got completely crossed where I was not allowed to stand up for myself or anything at all. If I tried to speak up to her or anything, I would be so sick and dizzy. I'd vomit like it was bad. It was bad. Um, but anyway, my point here is understand your value, and this is the best way to do it. When I pull myself out of my perspective, and I did this once by looking at my dash cam. I was in an altercation with some people at Jimmy John's that were extremely hostile to me. And I watched myself in my dash cam and I saw the way that I handled it. And then I started watching myself in many other circumstances. That red car, try and get it on there. He just almost hit the mirror of another vehicle driving on the wrong side of the road. Mark at 10:49 a.m. Um, but once I saw myself, how I drive and how I handle people, how I talk to people, I was like, wow, I like that guy. That's a very sweet, kind, compassionate man. I would want to be friends with that person. I would want to be there for that person. I would want to help that person. And I feel that way now with some people in my life. And they have great value to me. Um, there's a girl in Wisconsin who has such a nice heart. She's an empath, and her kindness and love she gives to the world is such a great gift. It makes her a rarity, and she has great value to me. Um, Her boyfriend, who's a close friend of mine, is the same way. So he has great value to me. I got a friend Edgar in Chino, great value to me. Another great gentleman in Minnesota. Great. I'm fortunate to have good close friends that I care about a great deal. But the way that I saw myself as a third what is that? Third view, that other perspective is what I'm trying to say. Um, I like that person a lot, and I recommend you view yourself that way. Don't view yourself as far as what did I do, how did I blah blah blah, what can I watch that person like it's a different person. And you don't have to get a camera and watch yourself. Just really think about it. Look at the stuff that you do, not your mistakes in life, but everything together. You know what I mean? Pay attention to that stuff and ask yourself if you like that person or not. And if you don't, then pull yourself out and look at other people. Like with my ex-wife, I look at that. My sister, and I've done this with my sister. When I was about 12 years old, I looked at my sister, and I also looked at my father, and I thought, if I were that person and I did those type of actions, and when I thought that, I thought I could never do that type of action. I could never do that kind of action. I could never do that to anybody. You know, it's like I just would not be able to respect myself. I would, and I mean, I really just like, I realized it was unfathomable. I could never force myself to be that terrible to someone. And then I put myself in that position as far as if I did do that. I just thought, oh my God, wow, wow, no, no, I could, wow. And then it's like, well, but I'm not that. And then I look at who I am again. Then I look at your average person, the average people, and I think about them. If I were them and I were making those actions, how would I feel? Why would I do that stuff? And then you look at yourself from a third party view and be like, would I like that person? And I do recommend that. I mean, I do screw up every once in a while. Like every once in a while, just for kicks, I will leave an unpopular view. That is true, but an unpopular truth somewhere on Instagram and see what is it called? How many feathers I could whatever. What's that called? I can't recall. But I'm not initially mean or attack anyone though. But that's basically it. Is stuff like that. I remember when I was getting a job at Pacific Tank Lines in California. Wonderful company, wonderful, wonderful company. They haul fuel for gas stations. And they did a psych analysis questionnaire on me, and they came back to me and said, "But we went through all the questions, but there was this one. Why do you say that?" And I told them, "Well, online sometimes I would say something like," and then they laugh, and they're like, "Oh gosh," they're like, "No, we mean like physically to altercations. If talking to someone's like, oh God, no," and they're like, "Okay," because they punched all these questions and answers in, and it showed one thing except for this one question didn't match. You know but I just took it in a different way. But as an empath, I would view like my online comments and everything as being um, causing conflict with another person, basically. But that question didn't mean it in that way. But really, like, I mean, I know I keep repeating myself, and I'll go ahead and end this video now because it's definitely at its end. Look at yourself outside from a third perspective viewpoint and ask yourself, and compare yourself to others and all that. And think about if you like that person or not, truly. And if you don't, all right, if you don't, look at the things about you would like about that person and start there. That's all. God bless you guys. I hope you're all having a good day. I had a crappy day the other day and I'm recovering from it. It took one comment from a dear friend of mine in Minnesota to just leave a comment that evening. How funny! I just realized he's gonna see this, though. I mean, I'm talking anyway. As far as how, hopefully, I got some plans, and the day gets better, and it changed my whole perspective. And I thought, well, I can just make some plans for the Memorial Day weekend and turn my mood around, and I did, you know. But I've never seen a semi with red and blue flashing lights before. That's a first. But anyway, that's all. God bless you guys. I'll catch you later. Peace.